Now in this next lesson, I want to talk about border radius. So let's go and create border radius.html. So again, let's go create an HTML5 document and then title, let's give it a title of border radius property. Let's save that. Now inside of our body element here, let's go and put a div container. Let's save that. Let's open it in our file explorer here. Let me just drag it here. Now let's go and put some div elements inside of our container. Let's have at least 5 div elements multiplied by 5. Control save. Now let's give them a class. So let's go and select, use Alt key here, class radius dash dash for the modifiers. Control save. I'm thinking about doing the 4 values, the 3 values, the 2 values, the 1 value, and for a complete circle. Now let's add some text here. This uses 4 values. Now let's go and give this here some. This uses 3, 2, and 1. Now let's give them a general class. Let's have a box here. So at least we will be able to go and create some general classes. Now let's go back to our display.html here. I just want to copy the styling that we've applied here. So go back to border radius, general styling, then let's have a closing tag here for the style element. Now let's try to refresh. So we have this text here. So let's go and add some styling for our container. Background color of blue. Now let's try to go and refresh. Now let's go back to our code. Let's enlarge this and let's try to go and give some of our box here some styling. So width, let's say 200 pixels, height of 200 pixels. Now let's go check what that will look like. Refresh. Now let's go give each of our divs here individual colors. So let's have radius, then Control C. Let's have 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now let's just choose some random colors here. So let's have brown here, background color. I think coral would be good. Let's just go change it if we don't like the how it will come up with. So we have brown, we have coral here. This is going to be a good exercise for you guys. As I've said, I want to really get your hands dirty in coding. That's why I'm starting from scratch every time I'm trying to go and give you some exercises here. Cornflower blue, I think that will not be too... Let's say, let's have burley wood. Now let's go here, background color. Let's have chocolate. Now let's give our container here text align center, and here the box, let's give it a display inline block. Let's see what will happen. Now let's go to our code here and then try to refresh. So we now have 4 divs aligned horizontally. Now I just want to go and add some margin here between each of the blocks. So let's have a margin of 10 pixels. Let's see what will that look like. So refresh. Now let's try to apply the border radius for each of the blocks here. Just remember, the border radius property will define the radius of the element's corners. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It will also be allowing us to add rounded corners to our elements. So let's first try applying using the 4 border radius property values. So we have here border radius. Let's have 10, 20, 30, and 40 pixels. Now let's try to look at our document here and let's see what will happen. So you would see that we have a rounded corner, 10 pixels, 20, 30, 40 for the div element that has 4 values for the property border radius. So here we can see that the top left corner got the 10 pixels, second value applies to the top right corner, third value applies to the bottom right corner, and fourth value applies to the bottom left corner. Now let's get back to our code here and let's try to do the border radius for our 3 value div. So let's have 30 pixels and 50 pixels. Now let's try to go and check that out in our document here. So you would see that we have our 10 pixels that was applied to the top left corner. Second value applies to the top right and bottom left corner. And the third value applies to the bottom right corner. So we have here 10, 30, and 50 pixels. Now let's get back to our code here and open our document here. And then let's try to apply border radius to our project here for 20 pixels with 2 values, 50 pixels. Let's see what will happen here. Now let's try to go open our document and then let's try to refresh. So you would see here that we have the 20 pixels from the top left and bottom right corner and the 50 pixels from the top right and bottom left corners. Now let's go work on the next div, the one with the 1 value. So border radius, let's say 12 pixels. Now let's go check that out in our document here. And you would see that it applied on all corners of our div element here. Some keynotes to remember is that we can also use percentage units for defining the shape of the corners. Right now we use length units, if you remember our topic about the different CSS units. But we can also apply, let's say, 10%. Let's see what will happen here. Now let's go open our document here and let's see what will happen to our div value here. So you would see that it applied the 10% unit in each of the corners of our element. Now I want the div container radius circle here inside of the div container 2. Let me just delete this. Now let's go and put an image embedded content here, which is an image. So let's have the image rod.jpg that I have here. And alternate text here will be my profile pic. Now let's go and reference that here. So let's have radius circle. Then let's give it a background color of, let's say, bisque. Now let's open our document here. Let's just see and check first. So we have our image here and we can see that there's a slight difference with the background here. So we have blue and the bisque color for the container. Now let's go back to our code editor here and let's go and select our container 2 and give it a margin top of 20 pixels. Now let's go check our document. Okay, so at least we now have a separator here, a bit of a margin from the top. Now let's go back to our code editor here and then give this a text align center and display inline block value. Then let's go and refresh our document here. Now let's go back to our code editor, and I just want to go and select the image selector or the image element selector, and then give it a height of 200 pixels and width of 200 pixels. Now let's go and try to refresh our document, and now we have the same box here. Now what I want to do here is to make the image a circle. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go back to the code editor, and then I'm going to give it a border radius of 50%. So let's go and save that and open our document here, and let's see what will happen. Okay everyone, so I'm hoping that you got the idea on how to maximize the use of the border radius. Let me just go and put on H1 here for the topic border radius, and then let's save it. Let's also change the color of the text to white. So let me just go to our body element here and change the color to white. Let's save that and refresh. Now finally, I just want to go back to our code editor and go to our index.html and apply the border radius styling inside of our project here. And I want to give it a 12 pixels value. Now let's check on our project here and refresh. So we now have a border radius for our navigation.